up the genophage issue. What? But I realized, well, that means I get to write Rex, and that means I get to write all these cool characters. And all right, how am I going to do this? Because it's a complicated idea that's full of a lot of politics, science, morality. And I realized in a lot of these cases, the best thing you can do is focus on the characters, which is what BioWare does well. And I felt it was just really a stroke of luck that up to that point, we had never revealed what female Krogan looked like. It was something of a mystery in the IP. And it just struck me one day, which, well, here's the perfect way for the female Krogan to make her entrance, with Eve, as she's known in the game. And we focus it all on her, we make it up, the cure to the genophage will all be about her character, her hopes and dreams for the Krogan. I wanted to bring that in. So I wrote the mission, and actually Alex helped on the mission you've all played, I'm sure, where you rescue her on Sirkesh. Then we get back to the Normandy, we find out that there's this other side to Krogan. I wanted her to represent, where the males are always about war, violence, war, more violence. I wanted to show that there is another side to the Krogan. Because the trick is, face value, the Krogan, I don't know if they really deserve a cure given that it's always war, violence, war, violence. And in the character of Eve, I saw an opportunity to present, nope, there is another side to the Krogan. They are worth saving. And that's an idea that I wanted to weave in throughout the whole genophage arc. So when I started writing the Tuchanka mission, where you actually go to cure the genophage, or not, it was a terrific collaborative effort. I think with myself, cinematics, design, art, I wanted the city that you saw in Tuchanka to reflect the fact that the Krogan weren't always, this violent warmongering species. Once upon a time, they actually had culture. I wanted to present the choice up front, which isn't something we always do, but going into that mission, you're going to have to decide, am I going to cure the genophage or not? And I wanted to then weave that choice throughout the mission, so it's always on your mind. It's this thing weighing on your conscience. So when you get to the end, you've seen what the city looked like. You've heard Eve talk about her hopes for the Krogan. You've heard Rex or Reeve talk about their ambitions. Which in fact was the next challenge of it, was all the choices and plot states they talked about. So you could go into this with, how many people played it with Rex? How many people played it with Reeve? All right, not as many.
How many people played it with both?
So not as many played with Reeve, but he's out there, so that's a situation you have to address. But it was an opportunity to show with Rex as the leader, maybe there's more hope for the Krogan. With Reeve as the leader, it is a little iffy on how the Krogan are going to turn out. So of course, I'm developing this mission as I started writing it. I'm realizing the spaghetti I'm tying myself up in, which is I've got Reeve talking to Morden, but Morden could be dead, who's talking to Paddock Wicks, who's the alternate for Morden.
His name.
Patrick Weeks. But anyway, so that became just a logistical and technical challenge, is having all these potentially dead characters talking to potentially other dead characters.
Welcome to BioWare.
Getting into that notion of fan feedback driving our process, I know a lot of people felt Rex, they wanted more of him in Mass Effect 2, and we're hoping for more of him in 3. So I felt, all right, let's try and make that happen, despite, the complications. Just, believe me, loading these characters in memory, getting all these guys in the same scene is quite the feat, and my hat's off to our designers for making that all happen, so we can have all that great character interaction. Then the ultimate challenge, of course, is how are we going to pay this off? How's this final moment going to happen? And I'd been imagining for well over a year and a half the sequence of events where someone's going up a tower, someone's going to release this cure, it's going to be this magical, awesome moment, the music will be there, and just kept envisioning it every day I came to work, trying to bring this to life. And I knew it was going to work because early on, I'd been going through some story concepts we'd all jotted down. And Patrick, who wrote Morden in Mass Effect 2, had written down, Morden should come to some sort of noble end. It was just an idea out there. And I saw that, we got together, and we suddenly realized what we could have there at the end. Which for Patrick was I think, quite the opportunity to pay your character off.
Yeah, I was really excited about Morden. So for me, Morden is two different characters. The first character is the one I was given when I came on to Mass Effect 2. And I was told he is the scientist who redid the genophage. And my initial reaction was unrecordable, but translated roughly as that jerk. Because Rex was my bro. So I had a choice. I had in manager speak, I had a problemtunity. Where I could either write Morden as just a guy who did that and went, yup, sterilized him. And, maybe the really renegade players would like that. But everyone else would just go, I'm never using him. He's atrocious. He's a war criminal. How could you do that? Or I could challenge myself more and try to write someone who saw himself as good. Someone who saw himself as the guy who made the hard choice. Who didn't take the easy way out, doesn't cartoonishly justify anything he did, but gets up every day, looks in the mirror, and says, it was the right thing to do, even if I am sorry I had to do it. And that's what I tried to bring to him. And then the other part of him is the Gilbert and Sullivan.
I remember the day we were like, so how's Morden really going to go out?
It's gonna be singing, yeah. So obviously the ending had to capture both of those parts of him. So for the room, the interesting thing for us is that what we really, John is possibly giving me too much credit. I didn't write the last scene with Morden. We wrote it together. I did some of the words. But really, when we say the last scene with Morden, it's really about 3 scenes. Because the first scene is, you told Morden and Rex or Reeve, if you couldn't save Rex on Vermeer, you monster, as soon as you possibly could. So show of hands, who told Morden and Rex or Reeve in the truck? There you go. Good people. That's what I'm talking about.
If you had Reeve, who told Reeve?
Yeah, really.
There's
going to be a sea of blood and we're going to roll over. Well, maybe that genophage is not a bad idea. So that's the first scene. And that is a wonderful... we tried to write that. I tried to write that as just a good send-off for a good character. He was doing what he wanted to do, and you were his friend who was helping him do that. And he did go out singing. And I'm incredibly impressed by our cine designers and cinematic animators. We hate doing hard interrupt cuts, and we specifically said, I am the very model of boom. And yeah, we asked for that.
Even as part of the team, when I first played Mass Effect 3 and got to that point, I dropped. I would, no! I got really upset.
So, but then there's another scene. What if you didn't tell him? And that scene is almost completely different because the emotional context is different. Maybe you're just revealing it to him there. Maybe you are, maybe you don't reveal it. How many of you tried to lie about it to him? How many of you told him to go away? Told him he wasn't going up?
Yeah, that was
and that was hard to write.
And it was we didn't immediately have a choice in there. We knew there was going to be a choice, but the form it would take, we weren't sure. And I remember thinking, all right, well, you could sabotage the cure. All right, that sounds good. There'd be a way for Shepard to sabotage the cure. It was actually Matt Walters, our lead, one day who said, well, what if, in order to sabotage the cure, you have to kill Morden? And I came to Patrick. I'm like, well, Patrick, what do you think?
I think with any other follower, I would have said, holy God, no, why? But in a way, we've actually laid the groundwork with Morden. In Mass Effect 2, Morden is possibly one of the only characters who will stand up to you, and not in a I am big enough to fight you way, but in an I believe in what I'm doing enough to stand up to Commander Shepard. So, he's one of the only followers that I can really see getting into that kind of standoff with. And Morden, Morden never draws a gun. He doesn't think he's going to take you. But he believes in what he's doing enough to say, if you have to pull the trigger, do it, but I'm not stopping. And wow, that was hard to write.
I made a mistake.
So who pulled the trigger? There you go. Okay, everyone, look around you. Look at the hands that are up. There you go. Just keep your eyes on those people. Don't turn your back on them. Mostly, this was a scene that I could never have written on my own. I was honored to be able to work with John to help with it. Because it really is the work of so many different people coming into that. John and I also kind of worked together on the person who makes you feel even guiltier if you sabotage the genophage later, Garrus, who, I don't know, who talked to Garrus after sabotaging the genophage cure? You go up and you talk to the friend of the cockpit, he's like, yeah, I would have been tempted to do something.
But boy, you'd be cold-blooded to do that.
You have ice running in your veins, and Shepard just says, I guess we'll never know. Yeah, that was dumb, bro.
Yeah. So Garrus, Garrus was a great character to write. Matt Walters, I believe Mac had written him in part 1, set up a great character there. Patrick had ran with him in 2. Patrick set up a lot of the seeds for then what I was able to do in 3, especially with the Fem-Shep romance. For me, it was then taking Garrus to the logical conclusion, which I think I remember pitching that my take was going to be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This was going to be two guys who really come to be, best friends, right? Potentially lovers.
John is also being, I think, a little modest